aspect if it was like a serious offense. They'd be like an enabler, right? And so Dan, who we went through, because he spoke fluent Japanese, he's a great guy. We went through him to coordinate all this stuff.
He's like the Masawa plug for people that are trying to buy cars off the
he was great,
local
dude.
market, basically.
Yeah, he didn't charge like a huge overhead. You know, he was really easy to get a hold of. He was punctual. He was a great dude. And so we would coordinate him for everything. Like I did him for the Altezza, the SEMA, my Charlton's president, Brittany's 240 or her Sylvia. Did we go through him for your chaser? No, your chaser was on Facebook.
I don't think so. I think I talked to him before about something, but I never ended up buying anything with him.
I think Brittany's car was the last car, and then he was like, yo, I'm not doing this anymore, because Japanese people would call him and they would be so nervous about us picking up cars, and he'd have to be like, oh, it'll be okay. They're good kids, whatever. And Brittany's car was the only car that we ever took with the tags. We didn't come with temp tags. We just went down. And I might as well fucking tell the story, dude. I said I was going to tell it a different time, but I've already divulged enough about it.
Yeah, let's get into it.
She had a pink, like, kitted out Sylvia on some Buddy Club P1s. It was the Supermade kit with the big Supermade duckwing bill. I'll post a photo on Instagram, dude. It was a sick, really, really sick car. I loved it. I loved it. She spent $4,000 on it because it was non-turbo. And she sold it for like fucking 9 or 11 or some shit, like way more than she paid. But we went and picked it up in Fukuoka. It's 20 hours away. So Dan calls me before we leave. He goes, hey, dude, like, y'all are good, but I'm not doing this again. Like, this owner's just really paranoid about it, and he doesn't love that you guys are coming to grab it, and it's just a lot for me. He's like, this, y'all can pick this up, but then I'm not doing any more of these, like, down and back. Like, if you want cars, you can ship them. But we went down. I missed the night bus that she had scheduled me for, because I was going to take a night bus to Tokyo and then go to Fukuoka, but I missed that first night bus. And so she stuck me on a Shinkansen the next day. And long story short, we make it down to Fukuoka. It's 8 at night. And in Japan, the sun goes down at like 6:30 or 7. It goes down really, really early because they don't do daylight savings time. Savings? Anyway, so they don't do that. So it'll get light out at like 5 in the morning, and then it gets dark at 6:30, 7-ish. Really, really early. And in the winters, it's even shorter days. So we're driving, we're walking all these back roads. Like, we got off the train station at Fukuoka, and we got Google Maps up, and we're going to this guy's garage, I guess. And it is dark. And we're on these back roads. There's no street lights. There's no nothing. It's just two Americans walking around. And we turn a corner, and there's the Sylvia, and it's sitting right outside of the garage. I wish I took a photo of it, man. It was like quintessential Japanese tuning garage. You know what I mean? Like steel barn, no pavement. And so we walk up. It's already outside, and these guys speak obviously Japanese, and we don't. I speak a little bit, but not a lot to hold a really good conversation. And they've got a Soarer in the garage on some Leon Hardier at Orden's, and I was like, oh, y'all like bout it. Like, I was like, okay, I see you guys. So we're checking out that car and stuff, and we pick up the Sylvia and start it up, and it's super, super loud, and we're driving it around town. And so we hit the road like immediately, and we're driving to Hiroshima on the first night, which was 5 hours down the road. It was a really, really late first night. Pull in, the car keys happen, right? We leave it on the hotel parking lot. Like, God, I need to get my story straight. We leave the keys in the wallet. We go up and go to bed. We come back. That shit's still there. It's like, holy crap. Okay, thank you. And we leave. Well, then the next day, it's typhoon season in Japan, right? So it is pouring like a motherfucker, and I'm in this 90s shit box with like no air conditioning on the toll road. And
that's scary. Just I can imagine the feeling. Oh,
right. And it was a shitstorm, and the wipers like barely worked, because they were like 10-year-old rubber. And there were spots where we started hydroplaning real bad, because when you lower a 240, the back wheels want to tow in. just with the stock arms set up how they are. And the tires were bald. That's how we found out the tires were bald. And so we looked up like the nearest up garage. We stopped. We got new wheels, a jack, and replaced all the wheels in the parking lot. And the wheels were smaller. They came off of like a K car, but they still, kind of fit. It just fucked up the speedometer. And then we drive for a couple more hours. And we have to make this trip from Hiroshima to Misawa in a day, which is like 16 hours of driving, 15 hours. And that doesn't count the time spent stopping for up garage and replacing those wheels, which probably took us 40 minutes or so. Yeah. Well, then we're driving again. We get probably 3-4 hours down the road. The exhaust, like we're sitting there in the car and I'm like, girl, did the exhaust just get louder? Like, I was like, I can barely hear you. It was already loud to begin with though, but I was like, does it seem louder to you? And she's like, it does seem a little bit louder. I wasn't going to say anything. And I pull over to the rest stop, and the exhaust fell off, dude. Like, where the cat bolts to the mid-pipe?
Yeah.
Completely came off. And so the exhaust was just dragging on the ground, but you couldn't hear it because it was so loud. And so you just had open cat for however long on the highway at like 4,000 RPM.
Dude, whoever was behind you was probably like, that car's about to explode.
Yo,
like,
thank God the hangers worked, Yeah. That's what it was. No, the previous owners had used a coat hanger to hold up the mid-pipe. I forgot. So that's why it wasn't dragging.
Oh man!
But
dude,
we pulled over to Homac. I got nuts and bolts. We got it, and again we used the jack that we had just bought for the wheels. And so I'm jacking up the car in this parking lot, and we had to set it on like a 4x4 to get it high enough. Because I set it back down so that I wouldn't crush myself. And I'm going to jack up the car, and it's a little jack. One of those little portable ones. I don't know how to describe it. It's not a bottle jack, but it's just really little. And I'm jacking it up by the pinch weld, which I've since learned you don't do. This was years ago though, so I'll give myself a little credit here. So I was jacking it up by the pinch welds, and the exact reason that you don't do that happened. The jack went straight through this girl's quarter panel, and I was like,
"Fuck."
She was like, "What was that?" And I was like, I was like, "You're gonna hate me, but your pinch weld split in half." Like it just accepted the jack as part of the car, and I was like, "Fuck, dude." And there's still a piece of rubber probably in there, because they give you that little rubber thing with a jack so that it doesn't really hurt the car at all when you lift it. And I took the jack back out, and that piece of rubber was gone. And I'm like, well, that's living in your quarter panel forever now. And anyways, so we get the fucking exhaust bolted back on, and we're driving. And now I'm like fucking double timing it, right? Because we've lost like 2 hours now due to the tires and the exhaust. And so we're like hauling tits up the west coast of Japan in this clapped out Sylvia,
box.
and it's raining, dude. And I'm going like 140 kilometers an hour, which isn't fast inherently, right? That's like
it isn't,
85, 90 miles an hour. And we're going through this tunnel. I mean, we're passing so many cars, dude. Like, because the speed limit on most toll roads is 80 kilometers an hour, which is like, what, 45? Maybe 50?
You might as well be walking.
Yeah, it's not fast at all. And so we're fucking hauling tits, dude. And I will say that most people on the toll road really go like 100 or 120. But the posted limit is 80. And so we go through this tunnel, and sure enough, dude, I got these vibes. Like, we passed this car, and I was like, that's not a normal car. And sure enough, dude, these undercover cops were in like a Subaru. And it was like a Subaru Impreza, like a base model Impreza. But something about the car, man, I was like, that just doesn't look right. And sure enough, they pulled me over right outside of the tunnel. And the cop comes up and I'm driving, and I'm like, I'm fucked. I'm like, I am fucked. And Brittany's laughing at me, and I'm like, girl, I'm going to get in so much trouble when we get back to Misawa. Because when you get any sort of speeding ticket as a military member, like, you typically get paperwork at minimum. Yeah.
And license gone, by the way. License gone.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Fast enough, it's license gone.
Yeah, I was like panicking. I was like, I am not going to be able to drive. Like, I really thought I was fucked. And so the Japanese guy comes up to my window, driver's license, and he's like trying to make, like a little square with his hands. And so I give him
wait, I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm just trying to put myself in the mind of this Japanese cop who walks up to this clapped out fucking Sylvia and sees a giant in the driver's seat. Like, his mind probably exploded. He's like, whoa, what the fuck?
Yeah, so he rolls up, man. He goes, driver's license, and I was like, I give him my 4EJ, right? When you go to Japan and you're a military member, they give you this piece of paper, and it's just to tell the Japanese police, like, hey, they fall under the status of forces agreement. They're allowed to live here and drive here. That 4EJ is your driver's license. So I hand that form to him, which I say form. It is the size of a driver's license. It's small. It fits in your wallet.
Piece of paper.
So I give it to him, and I said, here it is. And my shit was laminated, dog. I mean, it was fucking bussin'. So I give him my laminated 4EJ, keep the change. And he looks at it, flips it over. He goes, no. Driver's license. And I was like, it's like, that's it, dog. Like, that's all I got. And so then I give him my American license. I'm like, whatever, here's fucking Michigan, if that means anything to you. And he looks at Michigan, driver's license again. And I'm like, dog, like, I don't know. Like, I give him my cat card. I'm like, whatever, like, here's everything. And so he keeps asking me for this driver's license. And I've given him 3 different things at this point. And I'm like, dude, that's... and they all have my face on them, by the way. Like, I don't know what else he could think that these are. And I'm like, dog, that is it. So he goes back to his car and he's calling like his chief or whatever. He has to call back to the station. So there's 2 of them. The other guy comes up and he's trying to explain to me that he pulled me over because I was chilling in the... Let me think about this now because they're reverse. I was chilling in the left lane passing everybody. Mm-hmm. But when you're not passing, you're supposed to be in the right lane, right? Mm-hmm. But so at first he goes, well, you didn't get over, you were staying in the left lane, whatever. And I was like, okay, fine. And then he went, he was trying to say, well, how do you realize how fast you're going? And I said, well, no. I said, it's a new car. The speedometer's off. The wheels are little, so the speedometer's even more off, and I was telling him, custom car, blah, blah, blah. I try to pull some bullshit like, it's custom. We just bought it. I think the speedometer's broken. And he looks and he pulls me over right in front of a speed sign, and he goes, what did he say? 80 kilo. Yeah, 80 kilometers. And he points to the speed sign, and then he reaches his arm all the way in behind the steering wheel to 80 kilometers on the dashboard. He goes, 80 kilo. And I was like, got it. Yep, that's it. That's the one right there. Yeah, dude, he just made me feel like such a fucking dumbass. And and then he let me go. They came back, and he went, okay. I think because they didn't want to deal with it.
I'm assuming so, yeah. Yeah, that sounds like it would be a headache.
They just let me go, And I was nice. I was just like, hey, yeah, sorry, I fucked up, blah, blah, blah. But I was like panic attack the whole time. And Brittany is dying, laughing. And I was like, girl, why the fuck you laughing? You're not driving. It's like, I'm going to get fucked. And so, I mean, that was it, dude. We rolled back into Misawa 4 in the morning. 4 in the morning, right? So we did break curfew for that, and I just incriminated
myself. Past curfew, yeah, I was gonna say,
and
for those that don't know, it's fucking, was it midnight if you're not back on base?
No, so midnight is when you have to stop drinking, but 1 a.m. is you have to be in your house or on the base. Every military member in Japan, and so that window between 1 to 5, you can only be out if you have to work. Like if you work off base and you have to go into work for a night shift or whatever, that's your window. So we roll in at like 4 in the morning, and I was just like, Jesus Christ, get me out of this car. Like we're going straight to the fucking, and that's where the night bus was so weird too, because the night bus is technically, you're not, you know what I mean? In a thing, you're on the road. And, anyways, so we're rolling in. I am deceased, and normally they get people at the toll gates. You know, if you come through the toll gate with a Y plate, like they'll be like, yo, why the fuck are you breaking curfew?